Hi guys, welcome back to AFTV and welcome to News Daily. I'm here with Turkish. How you doing, Turkish?
I'm all good, man. All good.
We've got a lot to get into today.
Yeah.
Not so much Arsenal related, but it impacts Arsenal, which is why.
We had a good win on the weekend, so
Absolutely, and it's why I've seen already a little bit of uproar on social media and whatnot, and I'm kind of and this is just me personally. I feel really good about where the team is right now, about the last 8 games, about some of the youngsters and the direction the club's going in, and I think it'll be interesting to contrast the direction we're going in compared to our rivals, potential future rivals, and all these things. But generally, I'm in a good place, and I'm not gonna, let this Conte stuff. Let me put it this way: it affects the way I think about Tottenham, but it doesn't necessarily affect the way I think about Arsenal. Well, actually, I guess it does in some ways. Well, that's what we're going to go into. Anyway, I'm sure we're going to break it all down.
It makes you ask questions, isn't it? That's what it is. Like right now, we're in a good place at the moment in terms of the last 7 games in the league and 9 games overall. So we don't want to dwell too much on what seems to be a very ambitious move from Tottenham Hotspur.
That's it.
We will find out, I guess.
We will find out, and we'll compare and contrast with what we're doing. We'll look at Newcastle, who have been linked with Unai Emery, and that is now looking a very possible move. So we'll discuss that a little bit as well, because again, this time we've given to Arteta. Would we have seen this upturn under Emery? I don't necessarily think so, but a lot of people might say that. We've seen him win a Europa League with Villarreal since he left us. So quite a few things to go into, including some Dani Ceballos news and other bits and bobs, transfer related. So let's go into it. For anyone who's not been following the news of the day, and as we said, this is AFTV, but it's the big news. It affects us. It's that obviously Tottenham Hotspur this morning did sack Nuno Espirito Santo. I think he had 17 games in charge, 10 in the league, 5 wins, 5 defeats, and some really bad defeats. Took 3 at Palace, 3 at home to Chelsea, 3 at Arsenal, and we weren't in a great place at the time. I don't think we'd scored more than 1 in a league game at the time, and suddenly we're 3-0 up at half time. Conceded 3 against United, who just lost 5-0 to Liverpool. The football, I'll be honest, it's been atrocious. Even the games they won, I was thinking it's a false position. They are not that good. And obviously, it ultimately wasn't a right fit. They brought him in after talking to, obviously Conte was their first target back in the summer. Fonseca, Gattuso. I think Potter rejected them. Rodgers didn't want them. Forgive me, Tottenham fans, correct me if you are watching this and I've got my facts wrong. We will read them out in the comment section. But, they went for Nuno. Hasn't worked out very early on. I'll give him credit for pulling the plug and realising early on that it just wasn't the right fit. And now they're back in for Conte, and it really looks like that's going to happen. Now, we both really rate Conte. I remember back in the summer, we were both, when the link originally happened, I was really worried about it. It progressed, and there was a real relief when they didn't get him. Now it looks like they are going to get him. So I've been talking for ages. What's kind of your feeling about it all?
Conte's a top manager.
He is. I think the 3rd best manager in the world, behind Pep and Klopp for me.
I'd say 4th behind Simeone, but he's up there.
Oh, of course,
he's up there. I'd say it's just the bracket below for me, but he's the top of that bracket. And listen, when you look at Tottenham over the past few years, and I mentioned this before, I was on United View Flex. I spoke to Flex about the weekend's games, and obviously the big news of the day. I'll be doing Big Six later. I told you there's going to be smug on that show. But the way I look at it is Tottenham have shown definitely more ambition than Arsenal over the last few years. And I say that because when they brought in Jose Mourinho, that was deemed at the time as a show of ambition. Pochettino, it wasn't going well at the start of the season. Now, if you ask me at that time, I looked at that decision Tottenham made sacking Pochettino as the beginning of the end for them, because I feel like Pochettino was the guy you should have stuck with. Jose Mourinho didn't work out. Nuno hasn't worked out. But Conte is the manager out there that if you had asked me who I want, if Arteta was to go, it'd be Conte. If you ask most United fans who they'd want when Ole's gone, it'd be Conte. It looks like Tottenham have taken, that step to avoid any risk moving forward and get him in. And if they get him in, my worry is that it didn't work out for Conte and Tottenham in the summer. So Tottenham going back to Conte potentially is them saying, you know what, we're going to give you what you wanted. and that worries me because that's a problem.
Is this history repeating itself a little bit? Because we saw 2 years ago, Unai Emery under pressure, Pochettino under pressure, and everyone thought Emery would be the first to go of the two.
Yeah.
Mourinho appearing on Sky Sports, breaking down, both teams
Remember
tactically,
that.
what he would do and all that. And Levy saw an opportunity where he thought, Pochettino's taken the project as far as he can. Mourinho's the guy who can get it over the line. 2 years on, and with a view to beating Manchester United and Ollie to that, signing essentially.
Yeah.
2 years on, it's the same thing, isn't it?
It is, but they got to do something.
Yeah.
They got to do something. But I guess at the same time, that's something they did a couple of years ago. Didn't work out well for them.
Well, it did and didn't, because they did shoot up the table, admittedly up to sixth. But then you'd be saying that that's really where Tottenham are. And this isn't me bantering. That's probably where Arsenal are. Like, they are two clubs that will battle out with West Ham and Leicester for the top six. And then one of those teams might have a stormer and finish in the top four. This Conte appointment, just to give my thoughts really briefly, I think Conte is a world-class manager. It does hurt that they're going to get him because he will improve them. I never like to speak too much on rival clubs. Because you just kind of invite abuse and hate and all that. But I like to just do my talkie on Arsenal because I watch them every week and I read about them every week and whatnot. But I looked at Spurs this season and I really was seeing your kind of 2005 to 2011 Spurs. And what I mean is just not that great.
Yeah.
They'll kind of be competitive in some games. They've got some good players, but they're mid-table. They're not going to cause any problems. That's how they look to me this season. So how can I be surprised that they've let go of Nuno? Because they've got much bigger aspirations. If that's how I'm seeing them, and I don't really go too far one way or another with an opinion, then Daniel Levy and Patrici as well will all be looking at that and going, yeah, or Paratici or whatever his name is. They'll all be looking at it and going, yeah, it's shocking. Get him out immediately and start again. Now, the main argument I'm hearing from Arsenal fans, and I'm not saying that this is to be discounted, I'm not saying that this is just Arsenal fans feeling maybe a bit insecure, a bit worried, but a lot of things I'm hearing is that he needs money and he's not going to get that at Tottenham. Sure, but it worries me more that he's rejected them once and now is taken it the second time. What is he being promised now that he wasn't then? How desperate has it got for Spurs? What are they willing to offer differently? Let's not forget, and Ndombele 65 mil, Romero 55 mil, Lo Celso 52 mil. So they will spend money. They will spend a bit of money. The other thing I'd say is that actually, if you look at Conte's history, this isn't that far off the kind of job he has been taking over the years. Took on Italy when they were having troubles in tournaments. Took them to a quarter final of the Euros, but were very good against Germany. Went to the penalty shootout. Took a national team that weren't really at it, similar to what Mancini's done. Goes to Chelsea, finished 10th, won the title. He didn't need the atmosphere to be perfect to the club. And then Inter Milan, who hadn't won anything since, or hadn't won the Scudetto since 2011 or 2010, I think, go and do it again, and that's what he's done.
Yeah.
This Tottenham project is kind of very much in line with what he's been doing over his career.
And that's the worry. Like, if I saw them sacking Pochettino as the beginning of the end, them bringing on Conte could be the beginning of something else.
Sure.
That's what worries me.
Yeah.
Because I thought after sacking Pochettino, bringing in Jose, I knew what Jose was about then. That's why I didn't want him anywhere near Arsenal. And, everyone soon found out what he's about. And onto Roman, you can see there as well. It's not really going as great as it could for Jose. He fell off. So I just thought, what a coupling. Jose Mourinho, Tottenham, fall off together, never to be heard from again.
And that is what happened.
Essentially,
they fell into the Conference League. I know at the time we were quite quick to say, oh, well, we didn't want Conference League. Having watched, well, not even watched any of it, having just seen the season pan out, I'm so glad we didn't get the Conference League.
Yeah, I don't want that.
Absolute blessing.
I don't even miss the Europa League, bro.
No.
Do you know what I mean? I don't even miss that.
Do you know what? Neither do
So,
I. And
imagine the Conference League.
I've got to say, I don't miss the Europa League at all, and I think it's done the team wanders. But back to kind of my main point, where I think people need to. No, I'm not saying worry, guys, but don't act like this isn't. It's not Conte's bread and butter. I do think he'd want a team that's more established when it comes to the size of the club. Obviously, Chelsea and Inter Milan, massive. The Italy job, massive. And Tottenham fans, don't get on me, but you can't say it's as big a job as those other three. Potential-wise, stadium, fan base, Harry Kane leading the line, sure, maybe ambitions there as well. But you can't say it's as big a job. But it is very much in line with the team not doing what they should, far off, and he's going to come in, organise them, get the most out of. Players will have forgotten. Ben Davis might well become a world-class left centre-back under him. Like, he'll do that. But he will do that.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
He might reinvigorate Steve Bergwijn or Dele Alli or whatever.
Because Conte's a well-respected name, not only as a manager, but before management as well.
Yeah.
Conte's been there, done that. And he's someone that commands authority, respect as soon as he walks through the door. It's different to a Nuno or a Arteta or a Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, where there's not much substance to what they've done previously. Conte, there is a lot.
Yeah.
And he comes into the league, probably for me, the third, if not fourth best manager. Depends on Tuchel, and I put Conte above.
Tuchel proves me wrong every week.
Yeah, it's true.
Not that I always thought he was a great manager, but every time I don't put him in that bracket of the other two, he, now he's 5 points clear or 3 points clear.
I think.
Five clear of City, having lost to them. That says a lot. So we've got a few things to break down here. Obviously, what it means for this season, how we think it's going to pan out long term, but also the Arsenal direction and whether we should be worrying about this or not. But let's start with what it means for the rest of the season. I was looking at, after beating Leicester, I was going, top 6 is a must, because the team have proven they can do it. At one point we were saying if we finish in the top 6, that's a good season for us. I'm now kind of standing by that, but also saying it's par/good. Like, it's good, but also the performances need to go with it. Slyly thinking that we might have a little push for top 4. Now, if United get their act together, with Tottenham getting Conte in, West Ham looking quite relentless, but I do think with European football it will take its toll. Leicester are always thereabouts. It's going to be bloody competitive for the 4th to 7th, 8th spots, isn't it? What does it mean for Arsenal?
Listen, if Arsenal had any chance of top 4, it'd be off the back of other teams not living up to expectation.
Of course.
And I think the same can be said about top 6 as well, in my opinion too. I didn't see.
You don't think that's more in our hands?
It was. Coming into the season,
what I mean, though,
into the season, I would have said the top, the 4, Chelsea, City, Liverpool, United. That's the top 4, and I would have said Leicester, Tottenham, Everton, bringing in Benitez, and maybe West Ham again.
Forget about it.
With us is the top 6 battle, but I didn't have any hope in that because I didn't think the transfer window was good enough.
Okay,
I'm happily being proven wrong at this moment in time, and long may it continue. But listen, I still can't talk about top 4 because I still don't see it being a reality. I think I'll start talking about top 4 if come March, April, there is a chance of it.
Sure.
And by chance, I mean a 2-3 game swing at most. But I just don't see that happening. And okay, United have missed out on Conte now, but if Ole doesn't, buck up his ideas at United, they'll just go and get someone else that will kickstart their season, like Tottenham might have kickstarted theirs. I hope not, and I hope Conte comes in, there's no new manager bounce and it goes all pear-shaped. But when you bring in a manager like Conte, you're not bringing him in to save you this season. You're bringing him in to win long term.
You think that with Conte?
As in not long term, but you're not they're not gonna bring in Conte and demand anything this season. They can't demand top 4 this season.
No, they can't. But this is where I find the Conte thing interesting. Now, I've been reading around that it's going to be an 18-month deal. People bantering, though I do think it's partly true, that the reason they're doing it is because they're still paying 2 other managers in Mourinho and Nuno Espirito Santo. So maybe they thought, look, 18 months, Conte's probably happy with that. Doesn't have to, overcommit. Maybe neither party is massively sold on this, but they know there's a big opportunity, put some big money on the line and see what happens. But with Antonio Conte, I actually think he kind of is brought in to challenge for top 4 this season. spend some money in the summer and transfer the title. And I know that might sound crazy because we're talking about Tottenham, and I see all the comments, people in the comments saying it's still Tottenham, it doesn't matter, you know, and I hear all that. But I think that's what you are going for when you bring in Antonio Conte, is a guy who has shown at Inter Milan, at Chelsea, in a very short space of time, and granted, Chelsea had a title-winning team, but Spurs have some players in there, you know, Son and Kane, and players who got to a Champions League final, some expensive players as well. I just wonder whether the remit is kind of instant success, big money spent in January, and kind of if it doesn't work by the end of the 22-23 season, both will part ways and go, we tried the short-term thing again, a bit like they did with Mourinho, didn't work, and move on. Like, that's the impression I get. I don't feel like they're going to be hearing the words process and project and, you know, time and no targets yet.
Yeah. No, by long term I meant not this season, next season.
Okay,
but
yeah.
They'll have some demands this season, but I think their demands will be more based around, you know, finding some consistency, you know, fixing your style of play, seeking out what you need in the summer. And that's why I don't think the 18-month deal is true. I believe it'll be longer because it just doesn't make sense. You give him this season, I don't think I think he'll remain in charge whether he finishes 4th, 6th or 8th. He'll still be in charge next season. You know, one summer to spend and 1 season to prove. It doesn't really make sense. So I think he'll get a longer term contract, maybe 2.5 years. But at the same time, I tend not to worry about Tottenham.
Does it make you feel any better than he's coming in mid-season? It does me. I don't feel the same way today that I felt in the summer.
Okay, yeah.
Because I do think a big part of Antonio Conte's, I know I was just talking, you know, waxing lyrical about him improving Victor Moses and, you know, brings in Marcos Alonso out of nowhere and suddenly he's great. But I do think a big part of Conte's thing is wanting to recruit, wanting to spend big to do it, and actually throwing his toys at the pram when it doesn't work out. And we know business is difficult to do in January. A little part of me that thinks it could be a good 8 or 9 months before Conte starts really getting what he wants at Spurs. And that does make me feel a bit better about it, because for anyone who's only joined in the last 5 minutes, whatever, as I've said, holding my hands up, I think he's the 3rd best manager in the world. You know, I think he's world class, and I do worry about that.
I think our feelings on it are just based around Arsenal's form, trust me. I think, if Arsenal lost against Leicester and didn't pick up the 3 against Villa, and then Conte comes into Tottenham today, we feel like their future is brighter than ours. But at this moment in time, based off of our form and based off of the summer recruitments actually, you know, coming in and having an immediate impact, looking good, I think our head's more in that space right now than it is worrying about a team that hasn't won a major trophy for God knows how long. Apparently it's 5,000 days tomorrow. Someone messaged me on Instagram saying, on Big Six, can you let everyone know that it's 5,000 days since Tottenham won a trophy tomorrow? So here it is on AFTV.
You should do a moment's silence.
They might have to. They might have to. But
I'm looking forward to Big Six tonight, actually. That's going to be good.
It'll be a good one.
Is it all going in tears?
What, for Tottenham?
Yeah.
It always does, though, isn't it? It always does.
It's the Conte blueprint. I know people say it didn't exactly end in tears with Inter Milan. You know, I think a lot of the players still loved him and respect him and all that. The fans love him and respect him. But, you know, again, it left in a situation where Inter Milan are going, we're so in debt, we must now sell, you know, 2 of our best players. And, you know, we need to sign Dzeko and all these other kind of Finnish strikers, because Dzeko might not be Finnish, to be fair, but you get my point. Like, he does tend to leave clubs in a little bit of a mess after. He's comparable. Is he basically Jose of 10 years ago? Like, he's very comparable in that way, isn't he? You know, comes in, almost just does what he has to do, fights with whoever. You know, this is my way or the hard way, and it's going to happen, and people buy into it until they don't. And then it's a big mess after. Again, I think he's a world-class manager. I'm just looking for reasons to be hopeful.
Yeah, we have to try we have to look down on it now. We have to talk down on it now. We have to hope that it doesn't work out. But
there are United fans, like YouTubers, like guys you'll be watching, who, like I've seen on their channels or when they've been talking, who've said, yep, Ollie's not the one, but I don't want Conte. Like, and they'll say that Man United's not about that. Like, yeah, we'll enjoy it for a year and then it will be destruction. Like, there are people who, even in a position to nearly have their club appoint Conte and all that for, you know, with every reason to back him. Everything I'm saying, like there are people who argue that as well. That it's not always. He won the title at Chelsea, and then he won an FA Cup. You can't say that was a bad 2 years.
Oh no, it was a success at Chelsea.
Absolutely, but it also went pretty terribly in that second season. There was also a lot of wasted money. I'm really trying for reasons not to feel bad about this. But it's a talking point for sure.
It is, and look, in terms of trying to win this league, it's the most competitive in the world. It's hard to predict who's going to win the Premier League. So he's coming into the league without the Chelsea budget, that's for sure. Regardless of what Levy's promised him or whatnot, he's not getting the Chelsea budget.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But at the same time, I think he's also been shrewd in the transfer market enough for me to think he doesn't need that massive budget to turn things around short term.
Not to make them a top 4 challenging side. I agree. I think he needs, 50, 60 mil in January.
Yeah.
A couple players in. Basically, if he gets 3 £20 million players in, and he goes to a back 3 and he lets Son, Kane or whatever do their thing. I think he's already turning them around, and that's my biggest fear. Let's do some super chats before we go on to the Arsenal side of things with this. So Shreth says, our training sessions look more for YouTube, all laughter and giggles. You guys think our players would act like they currently do in front of Conte? No. Okay. In fairness, I wouldn't get onto all that. They'll be showing you the happier bits, the lighter-hearted bits on YouTube, all that stuff. And you made the point about Conte, but there's one thing we can all agree on about Arteta, through good and through bad. The players really play for him. Like, they are there for him. So I wouldn't be too worried about the harmony of the group. If you're talking intensity and stuff, sure, but we're in good form. Benjamin with Super Chat says, he goes, how tall are you, Turkish? Gabriel partnership, ... Did you play centre-back in your day?
Nah, never, man. Too much culture on the ball for that. But nowadays they'll say play out the back, innit? But nah, I'm not about that. Number 10, number 9.
Culture, they're chucking you at the back to beat the press now.
Yeah, I know. Number 10, number 9, that's me.
I love it. Rifty says, James with the glasses back. Yeah, I didn't find them. I bought a new pair. It was actually a hard couple of weeks without
them nights out.
Yeah, it was. I did lose it on a night out, but we're not going to talk about that. So we've got another super chat. Victor says, Conte is bringing his former charges to the club, which includes Stefan de Vrij, Alessandro Bastoni, and Manuel Lazzari. Arsenal need to buy players in January. I could see him going for a load of those players. I could see him targeting Inter Milan, who, as we said, needed to sell in the summer. They'll probably need to sell again in January. But let's talk about the Arsenal side of things.
Oh shit! Sorry, Ben. I'm 6'2". I didn't even answer that question because he just said again how tall is Turkish. Yeah. Sorry, my bad. 6'2".
Fair enough. Oh, okay. Yeah, you are. Yeah, you are quite tall. I'm not. I'm not very tall. Let's talk about Arsenal and this side of things, because polar opposite philosophies here. Whether you agree with it or not, here are the facts. Arsenal are going for a 3 to 5, 6 year plan. It's about our current 20 to 23, 24 year olds becoming world beaters in the next 2-3 years, improving year on year, playing a brand of football throughout. You ask people to go see the academy, tell you it's the same thing, playing out the back, and they're trying to instill something throughout. They're trying to get the academy that's producing all these players to really flourish with it. You've still got your Patinos, Salah-Eddin, Hutchinson, Balogun, all these players who are going to come in and be a part of this process. And it's about signing young. It's about signing players who identify with the club, like Ben White, like Aaron Ramsdale. Nuno Tavares and Lokonga have slotted in immediately. And it's a process that we're doing via a young manager who's learned from some of the very best in football management of all time. Playing for PSG, working with Arsene Wenger, working with Pep Guardiola. And then you go to Spurs, and for Spurs, it's about here and now. Mm-hmm. They're acting like, actually, let's be honest, a modern day football club.
Yeah.
They're acting like a Chelsea. They're acting like I would say Man City, Man United, but they've, over the last couple of years, certainly City have stumbled off on progression. Not stumbled, of course, not stumbled on it. In Pep Guardiola, they've had real progression, and with United, they've kind of stumbled on progression and improved slightly every year. Tottenham have gone for that model. They've gone for the Chelsea model. the modern day club model.
It's a bit of a my hope is that it's panic, and that's what it feels like as well. Because listen, Tottenham's squad a couple of years ago was the best Tottenham squad I've seen, but they didn't get over the line in any competition. So the best Tottenham squad I've seen, it ended with nothing, and I feel like that's where they're kind of trying to balance the Harry Kane contract and his desire to leave with trying to get something over the line. Like, you know, the league and Champions League is so far off now, but a couple of years ago they were in the Champions League final.
Yeah.
So from that moment, I think they thought to themselves, we need to cross the line and we need to cross it now. Pochettino's not working, bring in Jose, he's a winner. Oh shit, Jose didn't work, let's bring in Nuno, he done well at Wolves. Oh shit, he's not working, let's bring in Conte, he has to work.
Well, they've gone, Poch and Nuno are comparable to me, and not style of play and stuff, but came from other clubs in the league, overperformed in the league, bring them in. Conte and Mourinho very comparable, only Conte for me still at the peak of his powers, whereas a lot of people kind of knew that Mourinho was past it. Well, I say but even Mourinho won trophies at United, so yeah, maybe more comparable. But
Mourinho wasn't a scary thought.
Sure, Conte is.
Conte can be.
Conte
at United, scary. Conte at Tottenham, we'll see.
Well, this is Amit's super chat. Guys, do you see it as a positive that he hasn't gone to United, leaving that top four slightly open? Yes, I massively do. Like, I'll say that now. It's United, if they got Conte in the last week after what happened with Liverpool and the 5-0, for me, top four's over. It's the big three, and then Conte's going to get them going with the players he's got. Fourth is a guarantee. With Tottenham, I think they look in a much better position for it now. Yeah, much better with Conte there. But it doesn't guarantee anything for me. It doesn't. I don't feel like, that's it. Our kind of whatever slim hopeful chance we had top four's gone now. It doesn't feel that way to me.
I didn't think there was a chance of top four for it to feel that way.
But even with Ollie slipping up and Arsenal's new form, no.
I've seen us go unbeaten before, 22 games, and we didn't make it. So every step at a time. I'm not comparing the two, but what I'm saying is I'll make my definitive decision on this season in May, like I believe everyone should. Until then, we're going to ride waves, and we're riding a good wave at the moment. Yeah. And like I said before, long may it continue. But at the same time, if you ask me to put my money on it continuing for the rest of the season, I'd be hesitant to do that.
You know what I can imagine? I can imagine in 6 to 12 months' time, Arsenal fans saying, why didn't we go for Conte? Like, why did we let him go to Tottenham?
That can be a reality.
But I could also see that, while simultaneously a year on from that, or 2 years on from that, people going, I'm so happy we went for this long-term plan. I'm so happy we persisted with the youth. Like, I can see it going kind of up and then down, or more so down and then up. Like, I envisage this, our results might take longer to get to, but can have a bigger, more sustaining impact. But it's about what they do across the road. And that will always play a part. You can't, if Arsenal finish second this season, okay, it's very unlikely. But follow me here, you'll get my logic. If Arsenal finish second this season, that's a great season. But it's a horrendous season if Tottenham finish first. Do you get my point?
Yeah.
So it almost, we're going to be looking even more at what they're doing down the road and comparing it with what we're doing, which is kind of not really fair, but that's the industry.
It is. I try not to, because even with Jose, I tried not to compare his time to Arteta's and all the people that really did. They'll be up for Mourinho one time, and they'll be talking saying we should have got him, and then they'll be down for Mourinho, up for Arteta. Oh, he won the FA. We should have, we should have left Mourinho. Whatever. At the end of the day, with Arteta now, I feel like we've seen an improvement. It's a semi-sustained improvement over 9 games, a couple international breaks in between. We go into a period of games where there's 3 massive away games against Liverpool, United and Everton, and then we move on to the hectic Christmas schedule. So the true test is still to come. And November is always a true test for Arsenal. It's always, interesting.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. There's a few comments saying Spurs News Daily, it seems. A few people saying, can we speak about Arsenal? Guys, with all due respect, you can't pretend this doesn't affect Arsenal. You can't pretend that the landscape of the season, the targets
Might not change.
That it doesn't change. You can't say that the path hasn't become far trickier now for our targets, and we've got to talk about that. We've got to talk about our rivals. Like this is important. It's about, if the project doesn't go bang, as he said, and maybe some will say that it is at the moment. And listen, I feel so good at the moment about where the team is and our recent results and all that. But if it doesn't work out, these are the days we'll be looking back on.
Yep.
Of course we will, 100%. And use that word ambition.
I still look back on Klopp appointment to Liverpool
and
have big regrets
massive
from
one.
those times. So I understand completely what you're saying.
Yeah.
And I understand, obviously, Arsenal are in good form right now, good spirit, it's a good time, and we want to focus more on us, and I agree with that. And I agree with James that, listen, Conte going to Spurs is a big thing. It can have an effect on us. It might not have an effect on us. I hope not. We'll see moving forward, but it is clearly the biggest news story of the day, and it does clearly have an effect somewhat on our maybe future.
Yeah, well, I say potentially, but it almost certainly does, for good or for worse. But guys, the important thing is we won at Leicester. We were bloody brilliant on Saturday. The youngsters are doing their thing. It's like I'm feeling good about the position in the club. Go beat Watford, and we can have a really nice international break. We know City have got United to play. Well, more so, we will be watching United, who play City. We've got West Ham playing Liverpool. A couple. Basically, 4 of the 5 teams above us are playing each other. It's a really nice opportunity to close some gaps, creep further up the table. Dare I say, be in the top 4 going into the November international break. And if people had said that after the opening 3 games, then everyone would have been stunned. And that is the position we've potentially got ourselves in. So we're feeling good about Arsenal. Them lot down the road will do what they do. We'll be keeping an eye on it. But of course it matters. Of course it has an impact. But let's just do our thing. I think if we do our thing, we're going to be absolutely fine. Let's talk about another potential managerial appointment.
Yeah.
I'm seeing rumours / reports / story, whatever it might be, that Unai Emery is now the favourite to take the Newcastle job. He could be back to the Premier League. I've got no doubt he'll haunt us once more. I would like to see him back in the Premier League. I think Unai Emery did actually well in his first season.
Yeah.
It was a bad end, but overall did actually very well in his first season. Had a disaster start to the second season. And ultimately, it wasn't so much results, because we've seen Arteta get through worse results. It was actually the lack of identity and lack of plan that ultimately, cost him his job. I'd like to see him back in the Premier League too. I know he's proven it with the Europa League, but just to prove that he can cut it in English football now, he is a top manager.
I think it wasn't fair on Emery. In the end, I did want him out because I saw an opportunity in Pochettino that I didn't think we should miss. In the end, we went with Arteta. It is what it is. But I feel like we can't really look back at Emery's time and definitively say it was a success or a failure.
No, well, I mean, ultimately it was a failure. Ultimately.
Yeah, well, that wouldn't be fair. If I give you a piece of paper and say draw a picture but no pen or pencil, and then I come back 10 minutes later and there's a plain piece of paper, is that a failure by you?
It'd be better than anything I could draw.
Do you get what I'm saying? Well, maybe, but in the end you failed to provide what I've asked for. And I feel like Emery failed to provide what the fans asked for. We just don't know what the club's been asking for all these years. And I think Edu's interview at the beginning of the season, albeit we're looking at it in a different light now, all the players coming back, give it time, which is all the things Edu said. Edu also has said some things in the past. Well, it makes us question him. It makes us wonder what's going on. And when he talks about a lack of targets or riding the wave, it kind of shows you that the club hasn't really been in the right frame of mind off the pitch.
Yeah.
So
I get what you're saying. I look back at his results in that first season. And it was a really good start. I look back at that 22 game unbeaten run, and I was thinking, was that as good as I think I remember it, or whatever? I look back and it was a really good run. It went on.
It was. It includes that 4-2 Tottenham, right?
It includes a 4-2 Tottenham. It includes a 1-1 draw with Liverpool, who were imperious at the time at the Emirates. It was generally very impressive. And actually, because I remember games where I started to feel deflated or disappointed. And I think now that my patience and standards are so different, because if it happened today, I'd be saying, oh, well, it happened. I also think the Premier League's got stronger, in fairness, quite significantly since then. But yeah, he could be back, to take the Newcastle job. Do you think it'd be a good job for him?
Potentially, the sky could be the limit at Newcastle if the talk of the owners and the wealth and ambition are to be believed. I think the next owner's in for a treat.
Yeah.
And I think from Newcastle's standpoint, and Unai Emery would be a good appointment from where they're coming from.
I think it'd be an amazing appointment.
Yeah.
I think it'd be amazing. I mean, I think he'll get them organised. He can be pragmatic and it won't be an issue, really.
Yeah.
But I think he's very good at taking teams, and I think he's good. The one thing I think he did really well at Arsenal, he didn't have wingers in that first season. Kind of Iwobi, but not really. Mkhitaryan wasn't really at it. And he just went, all right, well, we'll play a 3-4-1-2 with Aubameyang and Lacazette up front and Ozil in the 10. And I'll just kind of get my best, most balanced system, that I can. And he made it work. And I think he'll go to Newcastle and he'll find a way to just dig out results, whatever, start adding some quality. And I do think he'll turn them into a side that's very hard to beat. I mean, in 11 games this season in La Liga, I think they've only won 2, but they've drawn like 6 or 7 or something.
Yeah.
That's Unai Emery. That's what I remember for the start of that second season. He does that. He'll actually make you, I don't want to say harder to beat, because we were shipping shot after shot after shot.
Unpredictable.
Yes, he makes you unpredictable. He makes you awkward to play against. And his teams will always have quite a lot of heart.
Don't you feel like when Emery came into Arsenal, his job was to steady the ship with what we have, whereas Arteta's job was to overhaul, whereas the overhaul should have happened after Wenger, but I think the board thought to themselves that after Wenger, someone can come steady the ship predominantly with what we have, with a few add-ons, but the reality is what we needed is a complete overhaul, hence why you're seeing a fresh lineup now.
It's a bloody good question.
Which is very different, you get what I mean?
So my answer to that is dependent on what you mean by steady the ship. If you mean
5th point off top 4 and then next season potentially top 4, but I think the reality was that what Emery did in his first season, a point off top 4, was a great achievement with a poor squad.
Yeah.
And it was only destined for worse if they didn't adequately reinforce and reinvigorate and overhaul.
I think Unai Emery's job was get top 4. Wenger's spent a lot of money, Aubameyang, Lacazette, Xhaka, Mustafi, yada, yada, yada. They then gave him Leno for 20 mil, Torreira for 20 mil, Guendouzi came in, Socrates 17 mil. There was actually quite a decent amount of money spent. Lichtsteiner, we knew was a very experienced player. And I think he was told, get top 4 with this. And really, he should have. Really, he should have got top 4, because he was in a very. I remember we beat Newcastle 2-0 at home
towards the end of the season,
and we were in a great position. I think it was early April, and it was back-to-back defeats to
Palace, Brighton.
So Palace at home, Everton. We lost to Everton away. Then I think there was a win or two in there, Europa League, all that. But then the really crucial bit was losing to Palace at home, Leicester away and Wolves away, and we shipped 9 goals in those 3 games, 3 and 3. They scored 3 games in a row. We conceded 3 goals, so it was a massive decline in those couple games. Even though we were doing it in the Europa League, probably part of the reason why. We had Napoli, we had Valencia, we had tough ties, Rennes, difficult place. So we had all that, and then he drew it home to Brighton. And that, I think, for me, was 1 point in 12. That's where he lost it. We finished 1 point behind Spurs. And we really should have got top 4 that season. And I think that was the killer. And then, obviously, the Europa League final, after seemingly having Sarri's number for most of that season, can get it done.
At the start of that season, after finishing out of the top 4 twice, do you think... Or do you remember predicting top 4 that season, or did you predict it would be
I remember thinking we had a really good chance of it, because United were in the mud with Mourinho. Ollie came in, and there was a burst, but even that only lasted about 3 months, and I didn't really rate them. And Spurs, people forget that Spurs got to the Champions League final that season, but they were awful. Away from home, they were terrible. And they were kind of riding they were kind of picking up just enough points to always stay a bit ahead. But yeah, they weren't great, and then obviously the new stadium or whatever. So did he? I get your question. Did he underperform? I don't know, but I think that was the remit: get top 4 that season. And then when he was so close that whoever was upstairs making the decision, Sanyehi, Josh Kroenke, whoever, thought, all right, we'll give you the money. But there's a difference between giving you the money and giving you the players.
Yeah, there is a big difference.
And he gave him the money but didn't give him the players. And I think that is where it went wrong. Arteta comes in, and I think there was this conscious effort, not immediately. I think again with Arteta, do what you can. Then you hear about these leaks, you hear about problems in the camp, you see the results. And between Edu and Arteta and Josh, and Vinay obviously, they basically came to the conclusion, right, scrap it all, overhaul, rebuild, start again.
Yeah.
And I think that's why we are where we are right now.
Yeah, well, and I think if the target was top 4 after Wenger went, and that was the target for Emery's first 2 seasons, and he was eventually sacked because he was far from it midway through the second. I asked myself, did that target remain for the next, season and a half? Because then we finished 8th 2 years in a row, and it was kind of like, well, that kind of highlights to me from above. There's been bigger problems than Emery and Arteta. You
know where I noticed, where I really realised there were bigger problems was we finished outside the top 4, 75 points, which normally always gets you top 4. And I thought, okay, well, that's annoying, that can happen. But where I really learnt was, we dropped the second season. That first season we weren't in the top 4 under Wenger. We were terrible that year, and I thought, well, we've not got Europa League. So we've got Europa League. We've not got Champions League. It should be easier. This should be a bit more, not a breeze, but it should reflect in the Premier League performances that we're not playing high intensity Champions League games. And then we didn't win the Europa League. We finished 6th, and I thought, when you say, well, maybe dropping out of this will be good for us, maybe going down level might help us, and it wasn't. We were dropping and never improving for it until this season, where it looks like maybe losing European football altogether might actually have helped us. But yeah, that was when I really realised that this club is rotting behind the scenes quite seriously.
And it still is. Like, as much as the face of it looks a bit better now, and it does look a bit better, it's still rotting behind.
Well, let's hope it feels like they're working on that rot, but maybe I'm just getting carried away with a few wins. Who knows? Shreth with another super chat says, long-term strategy is an illusion. Accept it. Giroud and others won at clubs who have short-term win plan. Mikel acts tough. Conte is tough. He's a winner. Facts. I don't think it's an illusion. I think it's very difficult to do. I think we're more likely to have success by hiring and firing till we get it right.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's an illusion that you can have success long term. You can, I would argue, the Liverpool plan, what they're doing right now, is long term. It's a long term plan. It took him 3.5, 4 years to win his first trophy, but when he did, it's the big ones.
That's the prime example. I'd say Leicester, maybe another example, a bit lower down.
Leicester's another really good example. I'll also throw in, and people might think I'm crazy because of the money they've spent, I'll throw in Man City. And the reason I say that is because, don't get it twisted, long before they had Guardiola, they were planning for Guardiola. They brought in Pellegrini, who was going to play a similar brand. They signed players that were going to be to Guardiola's liking. Yeah. They built a squad that was ready. They brought in the Barcelona boys above them, didn't they? They brought in an academy, a training centre, everything to fit Guardiola, and he came in and it was ready. So that is what long-term planning can do for you. It can get you to the top, and for a long time, because now Liverpool and City have been dominating English football for the last 3-4 seasons. Chelsea, they're knocking on the door, but of course we know what their model is, and it does work for them too.
Yeah.
So yeah, interesting. But Emery to Newcastle, who knows? Idowu says, to me, Emery to Newcastle is no threat to anyone. Is he a world-class coach? No. Sure, but, it'd be interesting to... He'll make them a better team. He'll make them much harder to beat.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, no question. Obviously, Kieran says it's no coincidence. Barcelona went downhill after TC, is that how you pronounce it, left? I don't know, is that the guy who went to Man City? I don't know.
Before, yeah.
Okay.
Guardiola sorted out the Guardiola move and whatnot.
Okay, well, there you go. And yeah, maybe. I mean, for sure that they've been in decline since that all happened. So yeah, anyway, lots of talks on managers, and this isn't a Arteta slander session. I don't think we have at all.
No.
This is all about just talking about what rivals and potential rivals are doing. Because again, we can't pretend it doesn't affect us. We can't pretend it's not important. And as I said, this might be a day we look back on.
We're like, at the moment, we're in the best place we have been since Emery's 22-game run.
Yeah.
And on one hand, you can use that as a sigh of relief, a breath of fresh air. On the other hand, let's use it as a reminder that let's not let things slide, because an unbeaten run here and there in a season with nothing accumulated at the end essentially means nothing. So let's make sure we learn from the past and
I hear
keep
that.
it up. Watford next, make sure you smash them, get 3 points, because if I don't see anything other than 3 points against Watford, it kind of dampens the last few. But I expect 3 points and I expect the win.
I expect 3 points. If we draw but score a couple goals, say it's another, not performance-wise, say it's like another 2-2 like Palace was. It doesn't tarnish all the good we've been doing of late. It will remind me this is a very young and consistent team, but the disappointment will be the opportunity lost, and it will confirm to me that we don't have the consistency and almost the kind of like mental strength to keep it up week after week, and that will just confirm to me that, listen, any slight little hope you got a top 4, James, not going to happen, and then top 6 is going to be a battle. Not that these things aren't true anyway now, but I do think just another set of drop points at home, it would very much remind me of that.
Keep the run going, that's the main thing, and it should be 3 points. But listen, it's Liverpool after Watford. That's the problem. So you drop 2 against Watford at home, Liverpool away next. It's peak. So let's just get the job done. Move into international break, probably in and around top 5. And let's move into Liverpool essentially as a free hit, because we can't really expect much from that game. But let's put ourselves in a position where, if the worst happens, we can handle it and brush ourselves off and keep it moving.
Yeah, fair enough. Let's go to some comments. Colin says, don't worry about Spurs getting Antonio. He's walking into a nightmare. If he was that clever, then he would have waited for the Man United job, surely. I actually do agree with that. Like, I'm not the whole if he was that clever. Obviously, he's a very, very clever man and he knows his football. It stuns me a little bit that he didn't sense that United job was maybe worth waiting for.
Or maybe he got an offer that's too good to refuse.
Well, sure, but is it there's so much money in the world of football. Like, would United have still not paid him a king's ransom? Like, I don't. I find it a bit weird, because United have Atalanta away. They got battered at home and managed to win, but they got battered at home by Atalanta with missing players. They got Atalanta away. They've then got Man City. Is it beyond the realms of possibility that United lose both? Absolutely not. So, I don't know. I'm wondering why maybe he's not thinking that's still an opportunity. But, I don't know.
Maybe push comes to shove. Maybe he has been. Actually, I wouldn't say he's waiting for it, because he talked to Tottenham in the summer. And I think if he talks to Tottenham in the summer, he'll talk to most clubs interested in the summer. I just think he wants to remain active. And he's willing to go to whoever gives him what he wants or can, promise him something. And Tottenham were the first to do that.
And that's true. And while it's really not nice to say, especially on AFTV, it's probably just a reminder of the potential that Tottenham Hotspur have as a football club in terms of their stadium, big fan base. And if Conte is seeing that as who am I to tell Antonio Conte that that's not a big enough job for him? Like, if that's the kind of job he's willing to take, I've kind of got to sit up and take notice a little bit and be like, all right, they are mixing it with the big boys.
Yeah, it makes you question the thinking behind it.
Sure.
But his age, it's not like he's getting on and this is his last managerial role, will tell me that they're offering him something that, like I said, is too good for him to refuse.
Yeah, basically,
That is a bit of a, not worry, because I don't worry about Tottenham, but it's a bit of a, keep an eye out.
But they're still small and in our shadow, so it's fine. Let's go to Adongo, who says, big up Big up, guys. Great show. I see it in a different light. Spurs will be taking points from our opponents. I like that. I like that. Good stuff. Super chat from Shreth says, guys, example of Liverpool, Man City and Leicester were more for invested owners rather than long-term. Gazidis said, we'll compete with Bayern. Where are we now? Downhill. So I think Shreth's making the point that when he says invested owners, I think he means owners who are invested in the development of the clubs. Whether we have that.
I disagree with FSG and Liverpool, that's for sure.
Yeah, I definitely, yeah. And actually, and sorry to cut you, but that is a massive point. I think this rebuild and this new direction, this drive, is coming from Mikel Arteta. I don't think Edu's necessarily sold on it, but probably trusts Arteta. I don't think it was Vinay's grand plan, and it certainly wasn't the Kroenkes. So what we're doing, and if it reaps the kind of rewards of success we want, I'm putting it all on Mikel. Like, I'm giving him the plaudits for it. That's how I feel about Klopp. Yep, some good, great scouting team and recruiters and a good team around him, but it's Jurgen Klopp for me. And that's the difference, I think. It's got to come from the manager.
Yeah, and that was part of the praise Arteta got near the beginning of his reign here.
Yeah.
He was saying the right things. He needs to fix the connection between the club and the fans. He needs to have a cultural overhaul. He was saying all the things that the fans, after a long time, realised we needed.
Yeah.
And
do you think he's doing that? Cultural overhaul, connection with the fans?
Connection with the fans, I'd say he's improved it from that time. Cultural overhaul, I'd say it looks like it's been improved after this summer, especially a few ins and a few outs, January included. What worries me is, the words leadership group with Rob Holding and Granit Xhaka. I think, those are the last, there's a couple last pieces that I'd like to see the back of this summer coming. And then I'd completely say, you know what, this is an overhaul. But
if he gets a Calvert-Lewin up top, if he gets a Bruno Guimaraes in midfield,
perfect.
And if he gets Saliba back in that squad, I'm looking at as an overhauled squad.
Yeah,
and one I can get behind.
I agree.
Yeah, I definitely think the differences I like in terms of easy to do after you've beaten Leicester 2-0, but 5-0 at Man City and the players come and applaud the fans. And the fans are really out there for the team right now. On away games, singing for 90 minutes, at the ground, filling the Emirates for Carabao Cup nights or whatever, buying into the youth, getting excited. You can hear the ground sort of get off their feet when Smith Rowe gets the ball. And I definitely think there's maybe we identify with the team a bit more. Like, there are players that, Gabriel, I look at and I'm like, you're playing the way the fans would play this game.
Missing teeth here and there.
Yeah, all that. Aaron Ramsdale, like, did you see when the Leicester fans chanted, "You're shit"? And he did that was brilliant. Like, I like that. I like that we're going to teams and bantering them a little bit, and like, I don't know, just the kind of things we've praised Jamie Vardy for doing since he came into the Premier League. Having a little bit of that.
That's a bit of fight, isn't it? That's how I see it.
A bit of fight, a bit of confidence, a bit of
pride.
Not kind of, what's the word? Shirking? Is that the word? Shirking responsibility?
Yeah.
Is that the word? I don't know. Let me know.
Yeah. It works.
Yeah. When we go to Leicester and stuff, I like that. And I do think Arteta's changing that so far. My biggest issue has never actually been the plan or the direction or the intentions. Mine was just whether he was the manager to execute it. Because if you gave me Arteta's plan on paper, I'm going, yep, great, cool, do it. But my thing has always been, is he the one that can actually make it come together? So far, looking pretty. 5 wins, 2 draws and 7. We'd have all taken that.
Of course, that was, definitely we'd have all taken that.
Especially with the 2 draws coming in performances where we were.
I'm the biggest critic of it all, and I would have taken it. If that decision wasn't made after November last year, if the decision wasn't made after Villarreal, and if the decision wasn't made at the beginning of the summer, and it wasn't made after 3 losses to start the season, then the best I can hope for is a turnaround in fortunes, and 5 wins and 2 draws is that.
He has dodged a few bullets.
A few of them.
When you look back, wow.
He might actually be the one. This new Matrix comes out at the end. Arteta just comes out. behind Neo, yeah, Neo just perishes and Arteta's the one. Maybe you know, spoiler alert, people.
Oh, imagine. Yeah, he is. Yeah, he's really dodged a few bullets. Just seeing it as I'm scrolling through my timeline to get some updates on news. People talking about the red card that wasn't against Johnny Evans and
that's a red.
Stonewall.
I said it, at the time. It's a red, man. Yeah.
I was in the ground, and you know, you think your eyes might deceive you, and you're watching at a weird angle or whatever. But I watched it back, Stonewall red. So yeah, and they've actually just someone called Richards just posted it online saying that there was a similar decision where I think an Arsenal player got sent off at Leicester for a very similar thing a couple of years back. But anyway, we are going to chat just very briefly on these rumours. Luka Jovic and Dani Ceballos linked with moves to Arsenal. Should we put that to bed quite quickly?
Yeah, listen, you put it to bed because I'll be throwing it out the window, mate.
Yeah. Do you know what? I was one.
You don't know what to say.
Yeah, I don't. I was one who really liked Ceballos when he was at Arsenal. Not for what he necessarily achieved or did, more for the potential. Like, it annoys me when people go, Ceballos is shit. Like, he's not. He's clearly a talented footballer. You don't play for Real Madrid if you don't play for your team, national team. Although, albeit he's not played as much as he probably would have hoped by this point. And he was key to winning the FA Cup and all that, and I'll give him massive credit for it. I also thought statistically he always performed a lot better than people thought. People always talked about Xhaka being the rock in midfield. If you looked at tackles, interceptions, distance covered, Ceballos always outperformed him in those things.
Surprisingly.
Yeah, well, because he's a buzzy player who gets around, and he loved the club, and he had passion for it all and all that. So, would I take Ceballos back? No. And the reason is actually not so much about Ceballos, because you know what? If he was like an El Neni in this squad, if you told me now we're going to let Maitland-Niles go and have Ceballos, or we're going to let El Neni go and have Ceballos, cool. Like I don't really feel a certain way about it. It's more that it's not his fault, but it just, there are certain players that remind me of a time that I think we've gone past now. We've pushed past it.
He's definitely one of them.
And I'm just ready to look forward. And I don't think we need to go back.
He was lucky to get a second year out of us.
Do you think?
Oh, yeah, he was lucky.
Really?
He was.
Do you not think that
so
first
lucky.
Season, second half, he grew into it, great in the FA Cup final?
Yeah, Sheffield United go, FA Cup, thank you.
But he was really good against City and Chelsea at Wembley.
Yeah, he broke the lines. He showed what we thought we was getting at the beginning of the season, and I think that's what fooled everyone to think, give him another year. He's settled in.
But also it was a second.
He settled out in the second year.
Yeah. Yes.
And now he's not even in the squad over there at Real Madrid.
Settled out. Yeah, very true. I think there's talented player there, but no. And Luka Jovic, I can't say I've seen enough of him, but I don't mind taking a player that's made a bad move and you bring him in quickly, because you know what? It's only really been 6 to 12 months or 18 months since their last good form. It's been quite a few years now since he's been like considered one of the upcoming strikers, the next big thing, and that's a long time for a striker to be out of form.
Yeah, it is.
So
when does that become the form?
Yeah, is that really? You start questioning. Well, what is your real level? Yeah, all that. But Evan with Super Chat says, Leno smirk after Ramsdale save, amazing save. Yeah, I mean, the one thing I'll give Leno a lot of credit for, he's a pro. And what I mean by that, they're all pros. They all turn up to train, work hard. I get that. But he's not. I think he could have been in the media a lot the last few weeks, and he's not been. I think he said in an interview, it's disappointing. I don't think I did anything wrong, but the manager's made his decision. And when he's kind of smirking, I think he's sitting there like almost like, this guy's good.
Yeah.
Like not like, embarrassing for me. I think he's sitting there going, this guy's really good. And and the distribution's another big thing.
Yeah, it is. That's the biggest thing. Shot stopping, Leno's got that in him. Leno's got wonderful saves in him. Listen, Ramsdale's save was amazing. Leno's save against Tottenham a couple of years back.
Oh, the follow-up to
Point blank range was mad. Yeah. So they're great shot stoppers, but distribution-wise, Ramsdale's shown a lot more.
Yeah, I think
confidence, a lot more ability.
I think he's shown more leadership. Like I always hear defenders like Gary Neville's a defender, and he talks about it in punditry. He says your goalkeeper instills confidence in the back four.
Yeah.
And I think Ramsdale, when I look at him, and I'm not saying it now, I say it from day one from Norwich. He looked more vocal, he looked more commanding, he looked more assertive.
Yeah.
Graham makes a great point. We'll see how Ramsdale does after his first mistake, because it will happen.
Yeah,
There'll
of
be a
course.
mistake.
That's the world of football.
That's the world of football, and that's fine. You're allowed to make mistakes. It's just a shame that goalkeepers are punished for them quite quickly. But it's about how he responds. Everything's going fine and dandy for this Arsenal goalkeeper and new back four.
Yeah.
Let's see when they're put under a bit of pressure. Let's see how Arsenal do when they actually go a goal down.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
that'll be another test. But things are looking good.
100%.
Any final thoughts, Turkish?
No, people asking me is Big Six on tonight? It is on tonight. I've put the link there. I've pinned it at the top. So if you're into Big Six, it's there. It's on tonight. Hit the like button, subscribe, notifications on all of that.
Can I just say, big up to Grizz, who was telling Matisse that he got roped into this Arteta outfit.
Oh, yeah.
Said that, no, I'm not going to talk to you now. I'm not talking to the rest. He said he got roped into it. But he's been sticking up for Arteta, to be fair.
Yeah, Grizz and Steve, both of them have said, give him time. But I think this season they thought, you know what, it's a bit mad, and here we are.
Bit mad, mitigating circumstances. It feels like maybe now it's on the right track.
We'll see. Conte out.
We will definitely.
Until he's out, I don't see a right track.
We nearly went a full hour. I think we're over an hour. We nearly went through a full show without it. Not that I don't want to hear it. I just want to see whether we ever could.
Can never forget.
I love it. That's why I love doing the show
call.
with you, man. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining. We've been chatting about the Conte news. It looks like he's going to Tottenham. Let us know in the comment section. What does that mean for our season? What does it mean? You hear Spurs fans say, "Oh, rent free. We get a new manager. Look at all this." Look, if we do our thing, we're going to be fine. And at the moment, we're doing our thing. But a team that I wasn't considering competition after their performances this season, you've got to say that they're one of the teams we're going to be watching. We're going to be looking at their results week in, week out a lot more now. And what they do over the next year and a half, we'll see. But let's do our thing. Things are looking good. Keep it up, Arsenal and Arteta. Go watch the Big Six tonight. Sure, it's going to be... Do you know what's mad? Saeed's team won 3-0. And I feel like he's going to be the one gutted on this stream.
Yeah, he will be.
Toby's team got spanked 3-0. He's going to be on cloud 9.
Yep. And Arsenal won 2-0 away to Leicester. Chest out.
And no one cares.
Yeah, it's mad, isn't it? Under the radar. But I guess that's the way we got to do it right now. Under the radar.
I like that we're
preferably.
I like that we're under the radar. Honestly, I think it suits us. Anyway, thanks for joining. Like, subscribe, all that. Don't forget to check out Tactical Insight. Came out earlier today, and the Buyers Premier League show as well.
Yeah.
Go check that all out. We've got stuff coming out through the week as well. Really interesting interview. Harvey and Julian did the Marble Halls podcast. Really great guest. Go check it out. Well, the podcast is out now. We've got a clip coming out all about the move to the Emirates, the new crest, all that stuff. The little key moments in Arsenal's history, why this decision was made. A guy who was at the forefront of it all is there to explain it all. So look out for those clips. Thanks for joining, guys, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Peace.